So in today's presentation, I want to focus on making the connection between horsemanship and online learning. So what is the connection between you as an equestrian out and about in the barn, at competitions, trail riding, and online learning? How can we bring your offline passion together with online learning so that you become a better equestrian, a more compassionate equestrian, a more empowered equestrian? So by the end of this webinar, I would like you to see online learning as an essential ingredient to becoming the best equestrian you can be, and to also see that without it, you're missing a vital component. So I've divided the presentation into 3 parts. In the first part, I'd like you to bear with me while I give a brief overview of what online learning actually is, how it's structured, and what kind of knowledge you can acquire. In the second part, I propose to offer some tips for setting yourself up for success as an online learner. And then after that, I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have. So let's start with a very basic definition of what online learning is. So online learning is anything you learn online. So whether this is through a fully online master's degree program or a 2-minute YouTube video, if you learn something from it, then it's actually called online learning. Now, I'm sure you're all familiar with the tools used in online learning, but I'll run through them briefly. So PDF documents or downloads are often used in online courses. You're asked to download a document to do an exercise or to do more in-depth study. Sometimes at Equitopia, we also give downloads that you can print out and put up on your wall to help you remember what you learned in a particular course. So learning doesn't need to be dull. If the learning resources are nice to look at, all the better, and that's what we believe at Equitopia. So the next, videos. So videos are getting more and more popular in online learning. Many people find them more engaging than just reading. And you can have a lot of variety in videos. They might be a video lecture or more highly produced videos that are almost entertaining, but that also teach something. Next are MCQs that I'm sure you're familiar with, multiple choice quizzes. So these are the most common tool used to test your knowledge in online learning. And in these quizzes, you just select the right answer from a number of options, and very often you might get feedback on how you did. At Equitopia, in the vast majority of cases, we provide feedback with extra information aimed at taking you further along in your understanding of a topic. And then webinars, so these, like this one, is basically a live class delivered as a video lecture, and usually with the opportunity for attendees to ask questions using the chat function or the Q&A. So I think it's important to be familiar with a few of the technical terms used in online learning. And the ones that I want to explain are ones that I think particularly apply to equestrianism. So first, I'd like to make the distinction between 2 different types of knowledge. Now, a considerable amount of research has concluded that if we were to represent knowledge as an iceberg, then the facts we know could be represented by the tip of the iceberg, but everything else would be in the submerged part. So the top part represents what we call explicit knowledge, and all the rest is called tacit knowledge, which includes everything we've learned from experience, our insights, and how we've combined everything we know to form opinions. So explicit knowledge is like, we know that. Example, we know that fascia impacts the horse's movement, while tacit knowledge is we know how to. So, we know how to take proper care of a saddle, for example. Now, traditionally, it has been easier to transmit explicit knowledge than tacit knowledge. Explicit knowledge can be transferred through books, manuals, or documents, but it is more challenging to transfer tacit knowledge because this is the knowledge walking around in people's heads. based on a combination of their explicit knowledge, experiences, insights, conversations that they've ever had, feelings, motives, and so on. But to be a knowledgeable equestrian, we need both types of knowledge, explicit and tacit. So how do you get that? So I can tell you how we approach this issue at Equitopia. So our online courses are designed to consist of approximately 70% explicit knowledge and 30% tacit knowledge. And we do this through the pedagogical design of the courses and then using videos, quizzes, formative feedback, and other learning materials. The membership program here at Equitopia aims to be the opposite. So 30% explicit knowledge and 70% tacit knowledge, where we try to capture the competence and expertise of recognized experts and transfer this through various strategies and methods. So, for example, in the Equitopia podcasts, experts tell their story and share insights from their lives as equestrians, and then we invite listeners into that story, challenging them to reflect on certain aspects of equestrianism addressed in the episode. In the members' videos, these include behind-the-scenes videos, tips from experts videos, and other videos with content that would be quite hard to find in books or traditional learning media, but really try to share tacit knowledge of knowing how to do things. Our webinars focus on the knowing that type of knowledge, but also share expert advice on building knowing how to type of knowledge. So again, a mixture of explicit and tacit knowledge. And then the members' blog posts deep dive into issues that can take equestrians to the next level, again, through that balance of both types of knowledge. So moving on, I'd like to now very briefly explain two other important terms. So formal learning and informal learning. So formal learning is what we generally associate with traditional learning in bricks and mortar settings in schools and colleges. It's the type of learning that is structured and led by the teacher at the top of the class. So in online learning, online courses fall into the category of formal learning. So they're structured, they have specific learning objectives built into their design. So for example, at Equitopia, maybe some of you are familiar with the first page of each course where you can see the learning objectives. You would see something like, at the end of this course, you should be able to, or at the end of this course, you should know. So these are the learning objectives. Webinars could generally fall into the category of formal online learning as well, in that there's a structure. They're led by someone and there are specific expected learning outcomes. So informal learning is different. Generally, there are no set goals involved and it's self-directed. So no one is guiding you. You just look for interesting stuff on the internet and you do it on your own. So this could be through YouTube videos, blog articles, on Facebook, online discussion forums, whatever you're interested in. So formal learning is really a bit like staying on the trodden path, while informal learning is going cross-country on your own. At Equitopia, we do a bit of both. We do formal learning through our courses and webinars, and informal learning through our videos on YouTube, the podcast, our Facebook channel, and other channels. And our membership program then gives a home to everything we do in informal learning. So I'd just now like to point out some of the advantages of online learning, which are quite obvious, and draw your attention to some things that you need to watch out for. So first of all, it's very obvious that online learning is flexible and convenient. So you can learn whenever suits your schedule, no matter where you are, and you can continue without disruption, even in events like a global pandemic. You can learn and move between devices from your desktop to your laptop, your tablet, or smartphone. So it is very flexible. Another advantage is that you can generally find what you're looking for to solve an immediate problem. You don't have to do a full degree program or wait until a new course starts in your local college to get the information you need. Online learning can come in bite-sized modules and can allow you to get straight to the core of the issue you want to know about when you want it. Another advantage of online learning is that it's possible to get the most up-to-date information online. Very often printed textbooks go out of date soon after they're published, but online content can be updated very quickly. So now, things to watch out for. So there are certain things that you need to be careful about. Unfortunately, we hear a lot about fake news, misinformation, disinformation. So the reality is that in an online world where anyone and everyone can publish content as fact, we need to get into the habit of fact-checking anything that we plan to act on. So it's not a bad idea to Google the author of blog posts or look up the background of people making courses or whatever content you're reading. Try to fact check a couple of points in an article, and this is a good way too to build up your own list of trusted sources. Something else that we need to look out for, especially in informal learning, is to resist the temptation to keep clicking and scrolling or aimlessly browsing until suddenly you've gone down a rabbit hole and can't really remember exactly what you have learned, who said what, where you found certain bits of information. I think we all do this sometimes, but it's not the best habit to get into if you want to really benefit from informal online learning. And finally, it may be a good plan to set objectives for yourself and to come up with a plan that's a good mix with a little bit of formal learning, some informal learning. Look for the explicit knowledge, but also see how you can tap into tacit knowledge of experts who really have a lot of knowledge to share, and maybe even keep some kind of a journal to log what you're learning. So I'm just going to leave this slide up, and I'm not actually going to talk about these tips now because I went into them in detail in another webinar that's on the Equitopia website in the webinars section. So if anybody wants to take a look at that, you're very welcome. So I'll just leave that up. That's basically the end of this short presentation. So if there are any questions, I'll do my best to answer them. And just to mention that after this webinar, I'm going to give everyone signed up to the membership program a 30% discount on courses that will be valid for the next 24 hours. So that's instead of the usual 10% discount that members of the Equitopia program have. So for anyone who hasn't done an online course before, you might like to try it. And, you know, I would also really encourage Equitopia members to schedule some time every week. Maybe you're doing it already, but to schedule time every week to check in on the members' content. The blogs, the podcasts, previous webinars, members' videos. It really is a growing library with huge amounts of explicit and tacit knowledge that can really make a difference. So I hope you learned something from that. Thank you very much for joining.